hold them in thy light. Teach me, all thy friends to bless, hold them in thy light.
Voice of God calls us to awaken in Him. How will He find us when He comes?
Awake and ready.
And when He asks us to dedicate our lives even more perfectly, how will He find us?
Awake and ready.
Let's begin with the prayer. Heavenly Father,
Heavenly Father,
Divine Mother,
Divine Mother,
Friend, beloved God,
Friend, beloved God,
Great Masters,
Great Masters,
Jesus Christ,
Jesus Christ,
Babaji Krishna,
Babaji Krishna,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Lahiri Mahashaya,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
Swami Shri Yukteswar,
beloved Guru,
beloved Guru,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
Paramahansa Yogananda,
saints of all religions,
saints of all religions,
humbly and joyfully we bow at thy feet.
humbly and joyfully we bow at thy feet.
O Divine Mother,
O Divine Mother,
we are thy children.
we are thy children.
Break down this wall of delusion
Break down this wall of delusion
that separates us from you.
that separates us from you.
Help us to feel your presence
Help us to feel your presence
ever increasingly
ever increasingly
in our hearts
in our hearts
as your comforting joy, as your comforting love
as your comforting love,
in our souls
in our souls
as your ever new joy
as your ever-new joy,
in our minds
in our minds
as your infinite wisdom.
as your infinite wisdom.
Bring us home, Mother,
Bring us home, Mother,
in this lifetime.
in this lifetime.
Om
Go home.
Peace.
Peace.
Amen.
Amen.
Please be seated.
Rama was a ruler's son long ago, long ago. Sita was his wife so fair, truly she his life did share. Through much suffering she won, long ago, long ago. Rama Sita Ram. Rama's father banished him far from home, far from home. All alone, no woods to roam, Sita gladly shared his doom. Thus his sorrow soon grew dim, far from home, far from home. Rama Sita Ram. Homeless wanderers were they, many years, many years. Raised in silken marble halls, now they slept by waterfalls. For their bed they gathered hay, many years, many years. Rama Sita Ram. Was she, though sorely pressed, Rama's wife, Rama's wife? Long she spurned the stranger's pleas, harsh she called his life of ease. Only tested love is blessed, Rama's wife, Rama's wife. Ramo Sita Ram. Ram at last did win her back, sorrows fled, sorrows fled. Soon they went to their palace went, ended now Ram's banishment, ended all their years of lack, sorrows fled, sorrows fled. Ramo Sita Ram. But for Ram and Sita true, long ago, love was all their riches still, palace gold could never fill, hearts that heaven's laughter knew, long ago, long ago. Ramo Sita Ram.
Deepening of devotion. As I read from Affirmations for Self given by Swami Sri Ananda. Today's topic is another generous quality. Generosity. Most people think of generosity as merely the giving of material gifts and benefits to others. More important, however, and much more satisfying, is a generous spirit, a willingness to let the other person shine, even if it means being eclipsed oneself. A happiness in his good fortune, even if it means personal loss for oneself. A concern for his safety, even if, in an accident, one's own property has been destroyed. Generosity means, above all, recognizing that everything we have and are belongs to God alone and is His to dispose of where He will. Please repeat after me, first in a loud voice, then slowly in a normal voice, then whisper, and finally to silence, with even more concentration and focus as we repeat these affirmations. I am happy in the good fortune of all.
I am happy in the good fortune of all.
Even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. I am happy in the good fortune of all. Even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. I am happy in the good fortune of all. Even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom.
Bless us inner freedom.
Now in a whisper, I am happy in the good fortune. Even more than in my woe. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. Silently, I am happy in the good fortune of all. Even more than in my woe. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. I'm happy in the good fortune of all, even more than in my own. For in my happiness for them lies inner freedom. Please pray silently with me, with hands folded at your chest. All that I have and am is thine. Divine Mother, dispose of it as thou wilt. All that I have and am is thine. Divine Mother, dispose of it as thou wilt. Good morning once again, wonderful souls. I will be reading from The Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita by Swami Kriya. Today's topic is, does Satan exist? Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahamsa Yogananda. The Bible tells us in chapter 4 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, then, after baptism, was Jesus led up of the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. To most modern minds, this passage seems quaintly obsolete. Psychologists have said, in fact, that the temptation of Jesus, if it occurred at all, was purely psychological. They call it a projection of desires lurking in his own subconscious mind. The subconscious plays a strong part, certainly, even if not a unique one, in any testing the spiritual seeker must undergo. The Bhagavad Gita, in dealing with this undeniable reality, quotes Arjuna in the 3rd chapter, and then Sri Krishna's reply. Yet tell me, teacher, said Arjuna, by what force doth man go to his ill unwilling, as if one pushed him in that path? Krishna replied, desire it is, passion it is, born of the darknesses which pusheth him, mighty of appetite, sinful and strong is this, man's enemy. Yet, even Krishna describes passion as born of the darkness. The fact is, as Paramahamsa Yogananda wrote in Autobiography for Yogi, all thoughts vibrate eternally in the cosmos. Thoughts are universally and not individually rooted. A truth cannot be created but only perceived. Psychology, yes, but psychology attuned to currents of consciousness that pervade the entire universe, attracted by each of us according to our own personal inclinations. Yogananda, quoted in The Path, said, I used to think Satan was only a human invention, but now I know and add my testimony to that of others who lived before me that Satan is a reality. He is a universal conscious force whose sole aim is to keep all beings bound to the wheels of delusion. We should take pains then to attract uplifting currents of universal consciousness and to avoid attracting the negative, which, disease that it is, can infect our thoughts even while it leads us to believe that our thoughts are purely our own. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind.
Now a poem from Whispers from Eternity. With the torch of our devotion, blaze away our dark indifference. Divine Mother, let every slap of correction administered by Thee wring from us, Thy children, only cries for Thy love. Change any moans of suffering we utter into unceasing wails to be lifted comfortingly onto Thy cosmic lap. O Divine Mother, teach us, even when we are bludgeoned by pain, to sing only Thy exulting songs of joy. Melt our pride in Thy purifying furnace of all necessary trials, to transmute the lead of unseemly arrogance into the pure gold of humility. Divine Mother, clear out the brooding slum of our selfishness, wherein crouch, huddled in pain, the starving, ill-clad urchins of our ignorance. Build there instead Thy temple of omnipresence, wherein noble votaries of devotion, solemn reverence, and aspiring love can worship Thee with pure hearts, dressed in the simple, clean garments of single-minded intention. In that golden temple, softly echoing Thy whispered inner guidance, Thy devotees will offer before Thy altar the frankincense of unceasing remembrance as they sing to Thee their soul chants. O Divine Mother, we lay eagerly at Thy feet all the fresh-cut flowers of our devotion. Our humble prayer to Thee is this: convert the little altar of our united hearts into the blazing light of Thy omnipresence. Divine Mother, be Thou the only love of our souls. Ignite our damp wood of earthliness with the flame of infinity. Let the torch of our own devotion blaze in the dark forest of our indifference, restlessness, and ignorance. Inflame our minds with Thy thoughts, our hearts with Thy love, our souls with Thy eternal joy. Master never fails to inspire. So our topic today is, does Satan exist? A very interesting topic. I personally tend not to think so much in terms of Satan or that particular word, because the word that comes to my mind, I usually replace Satan with delusion. And I'm a little bit more comfortable with that word. But to answer that question, does Satan exist? The answer is a resounding yes. And at different levels. Delusion exists at various levels, both outside and inside us. I'll share with you something very simple, but I found that, I wanted to share it with you. This happened not long ago. It was just this Friday. My school, I'm a teacher, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a high school teacher. My school has just opened, and that typical first week at school can be a little rough. And Friday was the end of that week, and I was feeling a little roughened by that time. And something was also coming over, like physically, and so physically and mentally I was completely drained. And I noticed that the day has been rough, new classes, new students, but usually I am at a peaceful place, even though my body is tired. But I noticed I was dragging, something was trying to pull me down into a negative place, and I didn't know why, and the environment was not helping because when I looked into my kitchen, I have, again, those of you who don't know me, I have a bustling family of 2 girls who are home because it's summer. And so I looked at the kitchen sink and it was full and needed to be cleaned up, and dinner had to be cooked, and my body was not feeling well, and then this pull I was feeling in my mind, like really negative. I just wanted to have that, like, just leave me alone kind of a feeling. And I didn't have the time to sit and meditate. I looked at the clock, time was running out. And so I thought, okay, I know what to do. I turn on Radio Ananda. That is my go-to. When in this busy time something is not going right, I turn on Radio Ananda full volume when I was washing the dishes. And what a relief. I found myself singing along those chants. It just changed my consciousness. Where was all that darkness? My body was still not, out of the blues, but I was able to handle that. So that's remarkable that we have these blessings in our life, these resources in our life, because the truth is that the world is not an easy place to be in. And as Master says in that writing, Rays of One Light, it's a reality. So many people question this. Many people I have come across, I'm sure all of you have come across, question this. How do we, if God is good and God made this world, how come we have evil in this world? Does that mean God is not good? And this is basically, Swami Kriyananda is saying at some place that this is a reason of people not believing in God. That because the world is such a horrible, evil place, or it can be, how can God be good? Is there even a God? They question. So then we question, what is evil? For a second, if we think about that, what is good? What is evil? Is that relative, or are there some absolute values in there? Because what's evil for me, if I go and kill somebody, that's evil. And then the tiger easily goes and kills for its meal. And it's okay, it's not evil. When the scorpion stings, that's not evil. Remember the story of the saint that kept on putting the scorpion back, and he said, it's the nature of the scorpion, and it's my nature to save it, and it's the scorpion's nature to sting. So the lines of evil and good can get a little muddy sometimes, unless we are rooted in the truth, and then things are more clarified. And so we look to the great ones who came to teach us these teachings, and they say that in the very beginning there was only absolute good. That's God, absolute good. It's not dual. There is no duality to that. And then from that absolute good was moved this great separateness of consciousness that's separate into two, the good and the evil. And that is the very basis of our world around us. We all know that. That's a world of duality. Everywhere it also, we could see it as light and dark, good and evil, night and day. And such is our world. And so, yes, and there that constant push and pull of good and evil. And then whenever we are caught in this dilemma of understanding, is this good? Is this evil? Master gave us a really simple answer. He says, whatever pulls you towards God, pulls me towards God. Now it's becoming really personal. You and me, each of us individually. Whatever pulls us towards God is good for us. Whatever pulls us away from God is evil. And I know it's not that simple, because therein comes many other sub-layers, and it takes attunement to really understand, because there's a question of dharma. What is dharma? What is our highest duty? That is good for us, because that will draw us to God. But this is the world we live in. And then I was thinking, evil is outside, so there is this stream, this consciousness of darkness that there exists in the world, and its sole purpose for its existence is to draw souls away from God. That's why it's there. So then we question, why is it there? Good question, right? And I know Master fought with Divine Mother about this. Why did you have this duality? Why did you put evil in this world? But then he understood, and he shared it with us, saying, well, that is the story of creation. Can you imagine? He says, can you imagine a good book, a good novel, will always have a negative character in it to balance it out, to give it some dimensions to it. So it becomes interesting. That's why the universe is so interesting. Otherwise, if there was just one force, the force that's constantly pulling us towards God, how long do you think our creation would have existed? And it would be not as interesting. Well, we can still debate with Divine Mother on that plan of hers. But it is the way it is, and we find, remember how Master asked Swamiji about Walter, what keeps the moon in the orbit? And he said, of course, it's a gravitational force, Master. And then he says, then what prevents it from crashing into, if it's just a gravitational pull, what prevents it from crashing into the earth? It doesn't crash, it just goes round and round. And what he was trying to make Swamiji understand is this dual force. It's this love of God that he has planted in each of us. In our purest self, we are just that love. And then everything else that we call evil, delusion, whatever you want to call it, it's like a veil. It is like a veil. Sometimes that veil is thick, sometimes that veil is thin. And all we have to do is to get rid of that veil. And what remains is that love that we are all seeking. Our hearts are all restless for that love. It will never find rest until it finds that love. And that's why we are here this morning together here. We're looking for that truth, that absolute love. So while there are currents of that dark force, God also, again, to balance, because he wants his children to find their way back home. He also sends these rays of inspiration, rays of light, and these are the rays of light. And that's why when we find ourselves in despair, in darkness, we have these rays to tune into. And pretty soon that veil that wants to descend, that dust that wants to descend, you could brush it off. And then Sri Krishna is saying, like attracts like. Let's think about that a little bit. Like attracts like. Many times, so we see so many aspects of darkness around us, particularly maybe in this last 20 years or so, right? In this transition times. One question I'm sure all of us have, as I listen to the news, I always wonder, because you hear about the story of this one girl who had apparently, perfect life. Her mom had no inclination what's going on. She tells her mom, I'll be right back, I'm just going out with my friends. And she never comes back, and later it's found she's in Syria, joined ISIS. It has happened many times, right? We come to know about these stories. And so a question that comes often to my mind is this, that how is it that the darkness has so much force to attract, which seemingly neutral objects? And the reality is, darkness has magnetism, has a lot of magnetism, has a lot of pull. And if we are rested our guards, it has. And we've seen that in our own lives, maybe not joining ISIS, but on Friday, I could feel that pull, that magnetism of, okay, let's be sad, this mood is coming on me, this dark mood. Let's just relax in that mood and forget the family and forget dinner, and it's me, and just get roiled in that. Yeah, it has an attraction. And then as Swamiji tells us that if we have the wisdom, thank God, of these teachings, we know it'll never lead us to what it's promising to be. It's saying, come into my laps and I'll give you comfort. It's not going to be comforting. In fact, it's going to be miserable. Look at the faces of some of the people who come back and they want to be brought back into the society. Just look at their face, or anyone who has through the dark phases of life. Just by looking at their eyes, you can tell how unhappy they have been. But to be aware of that. So then the question comes, how do we protect ourselves? And the answer, when I ask this question, the answer came right back, and I'm sure you'll all agree, love. Love is our greatest armor. Love, divine love in our hearts. And some of us may struggle that what is this divine love, right? How do I love you more, Lord? How do I make my love more magnetic? How do I cover myself with a shield, not only to protect myself, but to be able to send out that love vibration? Because Swamiji is saying in so many of his songs about this duality, this battle between the light and dark, that we are not going to hold up arms. Our battle cry will be that of joy. Love will be our shots. We'll be shooting love into the hearts of people. We'll kill with love. We'll kill with joy. But how do I become that love warrior? And again, we are so blessed. When we are meditating, let's do more Kriya. Because what is Kriya? Kriya is basically getting rid of that veil of delusion. As we are doing deeper Kriyas, if you're not a Kriyaban, no worries. There are techniques of meditation, and of course you can also consider Kriya. Kriya is a powerful tool, which is why I want to talk about it a little bit. Kriya, that process of energy, is helping us get rid, because these are energy veils we are wearing. It's not the dust I can easily, I have to shift my energy. I have to shift my consciousness. And then that in turn changes the energy. And so this connection, these are all interconnected. We all know about the connection between energy and breath. And then the connection between our thoughts and consciousness. And then ultimately the connection between consciousness and energy. See how it's like a web? So the good thing is we can get hold of one knot, and because they're all connected, we can work at that knot. And that knot is energy for our Kriya. If you work on the energy, then that uplifts the consciousness. And as you work on the energy, that also helps us with our thoughts. And our thoughts, as we also work on the thoughts throughout the whole day, can we, as Master is saying, keep turning our gaze inwards onto the divine? Can we be here? This is the seat of the divine. As meditators, we're all aware of that point here. Trying to be at that point. Nothing can touch us. Nothing can touch our joy, our love, if we are there. And as we are feeling the pull, maybe finding a little spot, I don't know, in the restroom, because I have to be away from my classroom sometimes, and just doing a few rounds of Kriya, listening to the songs, looking at the pictures. I mean, I was looking at, I share this with all of you because I know we share our love for our Master. Can you not feel love and joy if you look at these eyes, right? So we are blessed with this divine stream that is waiting for us to surround ourselves with that stream. And then the evil is there, and we are aware of it. We will not be naive, we'll be aware of it. So when you find yourself, because evil, like I said, can be magnetic, and it can pull us. Sometimes we feel it's so powerful, so it's good to separate yourself at that point if you can. If not, to go inward. We know about the Om Tat Sat, feeling, visualizing ourselves. We are filled with light. Master is there. You can call out, Master, help me, and he's always there. Babaji, help me. He's there. We have these lights in our lives to help us. And the thing is, as we go deeper in this path, we find it becomes so hard to judge even the evil, isn't it? Like Master Mahashaya is telling little Mukunda when he was listening to the loud chanting of the devotees in Calcutta, and he says, "Little sir, isn't it sweet to hear the sound of the sounds of devotion?" I'm paraphrasing here, both from wise lips and not so wise lips, because love sees unity, and we begin to see. I was sharing this with a friend not so many days back, that it becomes hard to judge, because when you look into people's eyes, both good and bad, you see that there is that good, there is that divine in each one of us. That light is there, and everyone is doing their very best. Even the most evil man thinks whatever he's doing is going to bring him joy, is going to bring him love. We are all after the same thing. It's just that veil, that fog is so thick that he doesn't see the direction to the light so clearly. And because we have been in that, who are we to judge? And who knows, we can find ourselves in that situation. So let us all, as spiritual warriors, as warriors for love, focus on that. That is our weapon. That is our tool. And that will keep the delusion away.